Hello, I'm Rivaya. Just wanted to share something and give a little review on it. So, just yesterday, I earned my CRTO badge. Pretty happy if you ask me. And thank you to those who are commenting. Congratulations, if any of you are, but no worries. But, anyways, this video is not about congratulating me, but rather, I'm making this video to serve as a guide for those who are thinking about giving the examination, like purchasing the examination, and for those who are actually preparing for the examination. At least this is what I would have liked when I was starting out. So, this is what I want this video to be about, a guide for people who are preparing or willing to give this examination. So let's begin. It was pretty interesting if you ask me. It was pretty exciting if you ask me, learning this one, because it was my first red team certification, and before this I didn't know anything about red team operations. This was my first certification, and I think it taught me a lot. And not only this course, but also during the learning process, I also discovered some other resources and went through them, and they also taught me a lot. But some way this was the starting point, so I appreciate it a lot. And thanks to the creator Daniel Duggins, the discount that he has on the website for the courses, depending on the region, is also huge. In India, the course pretty much turns out to be around 23,000 somewhat. I'm not sure about the current rate, but this is what I think I bought it for around 22,000 something. I'm not sure the exact amount. It was some time back. So this is the certifications, and this is the website. This is a new version, as I can see. Before there was an older version, but this is the new one. And unlike the previous one, which was kind of a CTF based one, this one is a kind of a mission type one. We don't have to capture any flags, but we are given an objective that we need to achieve to secure the examination, to pass the examination. But reaching the mission or completing the objective is not the only thing. There are certain things that the operator needs to keep in mind while carrying out the attack, especially keeping a low profile in the environment, like not triggering any defenses like antivirus, app locker policies, or any other things like that. Not something extreme, but the foundational things like not triggering antiviruses is the main thing. And also making sure that your traffic appears clean to certain solutions. So this is also one thing that the operator needs to make sure before actually carrying out the attack. It doesn't that the operator should not go with the defaults. The default settings are just for functionality, but to perform a stealth operation, the settings need to be configured so that it evades all the detection parameters. So this is what the course is about. You have an objective, and reaching that objective should be done in a very quiet manner, not creating a lot of noise in the network, not triggering any defenses. So this is what the certification is about, and that is what actually makes it interesting, I think. Because unlike other certifications which are mostly CTF based, you can run whatever tool you want without considering the impact of that tool. But this course focuses on stealth, so that was makes it a little difficult actually. The objective Achieving the objective in itself is not that difficult. I would rate it in a medium scale, but configuring the profile and evading antiviruses somewhat makes it a little difficult, but not that difficult. Okay. So There are multiple labs. You can take as many labs as you want. Like there is no expirations. Like amazing thing. Free attempts. That is what saved me actually. In my first attempt, I didn't know anything about it, so I failed. In my second attempt, I was almost through, but I was stuck on the last machine. And when I generated the grading report, I not only didn't accomplish the objective, but it seemed like I also failed, or I also failed to maintain OPSEC. So the second attempt was bad, but the third attempt I recounted all my mistakes and make sure that it was good. And thankfully, in my third attempt, I scored 94 out of 100. Not the best. There were two mistakes actually. The one was rather a curiosity mistake, and the other was a mistake I am not sure about yet, but maybe I'll look into it later sometime. But the two mistakes were the malware got detected. Haha, funny, right? But uh, actually, I was trying to use a different method than what I had already discovered in my second attempt. That was working. It was working fine properly. But in my third attempt, I found a different path that I thought could work and would be a little better than my second path, but it failed me. So I had to go back with my previous methodology or previous technique, if I can say that, and not follow the new one because the new one got detected. And it is only for that reason that malware got detected. Otherwise, what all the plan that I had done was not going to be detected. But that was my mistake. And the other was process injection. This is something I'm not sure yet because I tried to configure my profile a little deeply, but somehow it got detected. I'm not sure exactly why it happened. Okay, I cannot share you the details, but these two were the things that got detected. One was a mistake, a childish mistake, trying to test something new in the operational field. Like I don't think it's a good practice to try something new when you actually performing the attack, when you're not sure if that thing is going to work or not. I should have practiced it before implementing it. So that was my mistake, and I learned it. It's a lifelong lesson that without preparing, you should not execute something. Okay, so that was a lesson I learned. But about process injection, I'm not sure yet what I could have done otherwise to evade that detection. So these were the two things that got detected, but still I somehow managed to score the examination, so pretty happy about it. And of course I achieved the objective. That was also a part of it. So who is this course for? Like, who should get this course? So anyone who wants to learn about red teaming, or anyone who has done some sort of EAPT, or who has done some sort of PT, and who wants to explore systems, and who wants to explore the operating system, the evasion, the antiviruses placed on the system, and trying to bypass them, working with C2 servers. So this is a very good course for such type category of people. Okay, also people from the defending side can use this course, I think. So I'm not actually recommending it because I don't know what they do, because I've never learned about the defensive side. I'm just trying to go more into offensive. I know it's not good, but this is what I'm doing, following the path now. Okay, so this is pretty good. The starting modules are pretty basic, like introducing about the attack cycle and things like that. The laws and compliance of various countries. Like this one is focused on UK. In India, it might be a little different. And then it introduces about malware essentials, like process injections, like what are the various types of process injections. Like that also matters, because somehow techniques used in process injection uh, can impact the detectability. At least I'm thinking about that. working with .NET, working with C Sharp and things like that. Processes, the security token and their access token. So these are the things that are introduced in this stages, I believe. Okay, I don't remember because that was long time back. So you have to read it on your own. And Cobalt Strike Primer, it introduces you to the ecosystem, like the listener management system. What is a beacon? How to interact with beacon? How to create listeners? How to create payloads and things like that. So very basic things, introducing the user or the operator to the C2 server. Okay, the paid C2 server, Cobalt Strike. Then it goes with defense evasions, like what are the techniques that needs to be employed to evade detections. Honestly, this thing only focuses is only focused around CRTO, so this certification, and a little, and it also of course focuses on bypassing antiviruses like Windows Defender. Okay, but it also discusses about the techniques that someone would follow if that someone wants to actually bypass Defender, like using a tool called threat check. Pretty interesting if you ask me. Okay, you will learn what is threat check and what I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but threat check is something that you would use if you want to identify what static section of the code is detected by the antivirus or even by IMSI. So something good, really interesting. Another thing that is really important is post X capabilities. Like after getting in the system, the user expected to lay low and not create a lot of noise and not create random processes or random threads in the system. That is a big red flag. Okay, so how do you blend your operations? So that is also very important. Okay, now initial access, pretty interesting, learned a lot, very interesting. Persistence, what are the various techniques for having or creating persistent on the compromised systems? So very nice, like very amazing thing with using default profiles, PowerShell profiles, like creating schedule tasks, creating a com object, creating a logon script and things like that. Pretty interesting. Now, what are the things that the user can do, like post exploitation, exploring the file system, key logging, clipboard, registry, screenshot, taking a VNC access of the machine and things, not access like screen sharing and all. Okay, like how do we execute the commands, what commands to execute using power pick, which is basically a much better way of using PowerShell. Like it's not recommended to use PowerShell in the environment, so power pick is the alternative. Now privilege escalations, like it says about itself, uh, getting to system, because that is something that is required when we want to steal the token from a process or dump the hashes or dump the tickets from the system. Okay, but because we first need to escalate the privilege, like path interception technique, weak services, like services which are configured with very high privileges and things like that. Identifying the softwares that are used on the system, like it's called system profiling. User access control bypasses, like there are certain binaries that can help you evade UAC prompts, so things like that. So it's very interesting. Elevating persistence on a system beacon, then dumping credentials from the operating system. Of course, it's this examination doesn't involve any type of hash cracking. So though they are introduced in the course, like curb roasting is introduced, aspirating is introduced, but these things are not a part of the examination. There is no hash cracking or things like that. Okay, but cred dumping OS credentials is one thing that can happen. Credentials from browser, not sure, surprise maybe for you. Dumping tickets is one thing that happens very often. Then impersonating a user from a process, performing like pass the hash attack, pass the ticket, process injection, stealing tokens and attacks like that. Discovery, like using LDAP queries, like unlike traditional pen testing where we have multiple tools like netexec, impacket, in this environment we are limited with manual enumerations and mainly why LDAP queries. So learning about LDAP becomes very important if you are planning to give CRTO, and also using Power View LDAP query and Power View. So learning about LDAP becomes very important. how do you execute LDAP queries. Okay, so I think these two things are very important. What are the various arguments that you can pass by power view? This is very important for enumerating the domain. Okay, so we have to do, we can use bloodhound, but we can use bloodhound, but you cannot use normal tools like netexec or impacket to do so, or bloodhound.py to do so. You have to dump the data from the domain using LDAP queries, and you just pass that data to the ingester. Okay, that ingester basically, first, when you dump the data, it is stored in the Cobalt Strike logs. Then through the logs, you just scrape all the domain information from those logs and save into files like group, user, OU, domain, and things like that. And then you import those files into Bloodhound. But it's missing a lot of data because it's not completely, because it's not able to completely scrape the entire domain or and the entire or the complete attributes, if I can say that. So you just you can see what are the users or what are the domains mainly through SIDs. Some users may have their SIDs, or some machines which will just be displayed by their SIDs but not the actual names. You cannot see which group member they are. So you just have to mainly rely on your LDAP queries. And even with LDAP queries, it is advised that you do not dump a lot of data at once. You just do it in segments or batches. That is what advised. Then what are the various lateral movement techniques, and which one can be detected and which one cannot be detected? Pivoting, curb roasting, mainly how curb roast works, like, and various delegation, curb roast delegations like unconstrained delegation, constraint delegations, SNS substitution, S2U computer takeover, resource based constraint delegations. Like, these are various delegations that are discussed in the course. Very useful, very interesting, and I will highly recommend you to like, of course you need to focus on the other parts of the courses as well, but practice more, learn about it deeply, like practice very much, practice a lot. And defense evasion, like, main thing, defense, there are a lot of, everything is main, but stress more on defense evasion, curb roasting and things like that. Like, what are the, not curb roasting, but curb roast delegation attacks, and what are the various LDAP queries that is required to identify accounts, not specifically curb roastable accounts or asper roastable account, but other types of configuration that is required. Okay, the various LDAP queries. Now, working with SQL servers, like what is SQL servers, link servers, working with CLR, working with XMP command shell. So these are the things. How do we execute commands? How do we execute a binary on this server to get a reverse, to get a beacon on our C2? Okay, how to escalate privileges and things. Very interesting. Domain dominance, like desync attacks, ticket forgeries like silver ticket, golden ticket, diamond ticket, like DPI access key, like backing out Windows data protection keys to decrypt the secrets on the system, basically password on the systems, like attacks related to certificates. Okay, of course these are not the limited one, not the only ones, like ECS1, ECS3, TCS3, and 4. There are multiple ECS attacks. Certificate ADCS related attacks. I think there was a website, but I'm not sure what this website is. Cheat sheet, I'll just write. I don't remember exactly, but there are multiple websites, like Hacker's Recipe is one, and there was another one that properly detailed the entire thing. Okay, so I don't. Okay, this is the website. Okay, yes, yes, this is the website. So there are multiple certificates. So this is not the only one. So spread your wings, and don't only focus on CRTO as a standalone course, but try to learn everything about Active Directory, Windows, and the attacks. Like, do more labs. And the thing that helped me a lot is Hack Smarter. TrackMe didn't help me. TrackMe is good on some labs, but not that great actually. Okay, not that great. Okay, so but HackSmarter is an amazing platform. Even in India, it's very cheap. Like, I have my subscription cancelled out, but it's around $9 for the labs, and the labs are pretty amazing. It's very cheap, and the quality of the labs is similar to Hack the Box. So you can just focus on these labs. I think the only ones that I have left is I was doing the hard one because I've completed the medium and the things like that. These are some new labs. So I did a lot of Active Directory labs from Hack Smarters, and it helped a lot to understand the various attack methodologies. Not though they're not exactly related to CRTO, but it overall builds your pen testing methodology or the techniques that you discover. Very amazing platform. The creators of these labs are all very talented, and they provide a very detailed walkthrough on that. So amazing players. So check out their platform. Just a personal opinion. I'm not related to anything. So just check out their platform, and hopefully you enjoy it a lot. And just check out their platform while you are doing CRTU. It will help a lot understanding about Active Directory and things like understanding forest domains and things like that. App locker policies and bypassing app locker policies. So similar to things, so bypassing app locker policies, like what are the various techniques, though the techniques discussed here are limited but enough for completing the challenge or completing the examination, but they are not limited to those techniques only. There are multiple techniques I discovered actually. Now reporting, though there is not report there's though this is not a reporting based examination, you just have to achieve the objective and without getting detected, and you pass. But they discussed about the techniques that you use for reporting and things like that. Finally the examination and the certificate, hopefully. It's a 24-hour examination, though it's I it there is a note that you can pause the examination for 7 days, and within the 7 days you can complete the examination, but after 7 days your lab will be terminated, like your machine will be terminated, something like that. I didn't take any break, so I thought of, I couldn't get up at least, and since I was free, so I did it in one go. So okay, so check out for your convenience. And if you are thinking about pausing the examination, make sure that you have proper persistence set up on the compromised machines, because that might affect your access to them. Otherwise you need to perform the attack again and again. Okay, so overall this is the course, but this is not what I this is what it is. Like, this is the actual thing that you need to study to pass. Like everything that's covered in the examination, and it is available in the course, nothing extra, nothing less. What it is, this is what it is. Okay, but uh there are some things that I felt could have been better in the enumeration size. Like there should, I think, for those who are starting out to penetration testing or red teaming, there should have been a module that covers using LDAP. Of course, there's a section that covers LDAP, but not in great details. And there is not a section for Power View itself, like what are the various commands that are available in Power Views. These things are not available, though there is a section where LDAP is discussed, the various techniques to query, but not specific queries. And I think the creator is not responsible for the learner's ability to search the internet for more information about a particular tool. I think it depends on the learner also. So this is something that you need to know before starting the examinations, like being comfortable with net Windows commands, being comfortable with LDAP queries, like being able to read LDAP queries, like what the query is actually doing. Okay, and being comfortable with Power View as well. Okay, these are some things that you need to work on before actually giving the examination, because you cannot just go on and give examination without knowing what command to execute. Okay, so important thing. Defense evasion is also very important, like configuring your artifact kit, configuring your resource kit. This is something that you will make a mistake a lot, but don't worry. With time, you just keep on improving and try to identify the details of each details of each step, so that you can properly understand what the command is actually detecting or what the command is actually not detecting. And then configuring your malleable profile, that is also very important. You cannot use a default profile that's given with that comes with C2, the Cobalt Strike. You need to configure your own profile, modify it actually, not create your own profile. And even I modified my I have a modified version of profile that I did. Okay, I took some other people's profile and just modified it, or even using the ones that were given in the lab itself. So try to understand the C2 profile as well. I know you can, I think, I know you will, some of you will try to just skip this part, like, okay, I can just use the default profile that's going to be given on the lab. Maybe it will work, but trust me, you work on this because you don't know what will get detected. And when that does, you have to be uh, aware enough to know because of what profile settings the detections were the detection it got detected. So knowing your profile is very important, because this is the profile decides how your beacon communicates with your team server. Okay, so this is very important. Okay, how your beacon is injected into memory, or how your tools are injected into memory before executing. So very important. Okay, so learn about this profile. I'll be covering this section as well, and what are the various resources I use to configure it or learn about profiles. But before going into that, I just wanted to give an overview for those who don't know about the certification. So red team operations, amazing certification. So go for it if you are going for red team cert, or wanting to learn about red team operations, and of course that involves C2 servers and things like that. So go for it if you're going. Now, for those who have already gotten the certificate and want to know how should they actually prepare for the certification, or even how did I prepare for the certification. Uh, so let's get on with that. First thing, uh, I myself was stuck on some modules for like hours. Like it didn't come naturally to me. Like it was not something that came naturally to me. I had to grind on some topics a lot to actually understand what was being done. For a long time I skipped malleable profiles, like configuring profile, but during the day of my second attempt, realizing that my malleable profile was the one that was dragging me down, I had to sit down and configure my profile and relearn everything from defense evasion. Not everything, of course, but relearn everything about defense evasions. I had to change my perspective on that. Okay, I had to look into how do I actually blend my actions on the network, on the domain. So this is what I had to redo, because I was very naive into thinking that I would get by, I would just pass through without any problem. But it doesn't happen that way. Actually, it doesn't happens that way. Things are hard. Okay, so not that hard, but it's new. Actually, it was new to me, so that is what made it a little difficult. And honestly, I used to dream about getting the certification a lot. Like, since the day I got the certification, I kind of felt like a responsibility towards this certification, responsibility towards this journey to complete. And just yesterday, I felt so good, though I was worrying that I might fail the third time because of the mistake I made with the malware. I was not aware about the process injection, but I was aware that I made a mistake with the malware. Process injection, I was aware in my second attempt as well, but I tried to modify it. And I thought that it is working, but I don't know why it didn't work. Maybe some issues. I will look into it later, of course. But I thought I will fail the third time as well. But after compromising the last machine and writing a file to the last machine, like it's required, completing the objective requires you to write a file inside the C directory of a machine. So this is one objective that you need to achieve. Okay, so I did that, and while I was submitting the examination, I had my fingers crossed that please just pass. uh, though I think that maybe I could have done better. Like, I don't know how could have done better, because with malware I know not to repeat that step again. With process injection, I need to again reconfigure my profile again. So this is what I would have done in my fourth attempt at least. But luckily, that didn't happen. I got through, actually. Okay, so don't skip anything. Do the labs, no matter how confusing or no matter how new it seems. Just keep on digging in it, and some topics will just bug you a lot. It will be like, why is this thing not getting me? I'm not getting this thing, but just keep digging on it. that is the thing that will help you in the certification. I promise that it's not a difficult course, it's just something new. Learning a tool is little difficult when you are new to it, but as you get comfortable with the tool, and by the tool I mean Cobalt Strike, it will get a lot easier. Okay, I understand you don't of course you need to know about Active Directory and things like that. You, of course, I assume that you already know about those things, and if you don't, then buddy, you need to study about Active Directory before actually starting this thing, before actually getting to the Kerberos section. Before that, you can just follow the course as it is, but you need to have your concept about Active Directory crystal clear. Not that crystal clear in the sense that the certain questions are asked, but you need to be clear about them, and that is why I think learning about Active Directory by solving labs helps a lot. And Hack Smarter, I can swear on it, like it's the best thing that money can buy. Okay, like it's very cheap. Okay, I think maybe not that cheap for some, but cheaper than some subscriptions from Hack the Box or from TryHackMe. I agree that TryHackMe is very cheap in India, like around 500 bucks at least, I think 500 rupees. But investing 400 rupees more on your monthly expense, I think Hack Smarter is the one that you should go for. Solve their labs, and I can promise you, you will learn a lot from doing than just from learning. Okay, so now let me just show you how the thing actually I did it, like the things that I for the resources that I did. I cannot disclose the entire details of the lab because I don't think it's legal, and I don't think it's the right thing to do. I know, as I'm also aware that there are a lot of people who are selling dumps on the internet. Agreed, this is what they do. I don't have anything to say on them, but this is my take on this one. Open a new tab. So this is the entire thing. There were total around how many machines? One, two, three. I think 7 to 8 machines. One, two, three, four, five, six, 7, 8 machines. Around 8 machines. So there were around 8 machines. So getting to this thing was pretty interesting. Okay. I can agree that my setup might be not be the best for the industry standards, but this is what it is. This is how I did it. Okay. Now, first of all, some references that I was actively using during my preparation is some notes. I'll just copy this thing and copy, open this thing. Okay, for some reason this link stopped loading on my normal session. I had to use this private window. I don't know why. But this red team notes from Anon, I don't know who this is from. I don't remember who sent me, but I had it bookmarked. Okay, so there are a lot of things. I didn't look into them, but I just checked into CRTO. This is the material that this guy has made note. Like it's his notes from the CRTO, like the latest one actually. So this is the note. This is his note. The whichever whoever knows it, this thing is. So I was using this one as well for revising my concepts, for revising the concepts, because I think this guy has just summarized a lot of things. So maybe you can use this one for your understanding as well. Okay. Still it doesn't load. And the other thing is there's another node. This is basically a command for all the things that is for all the steps. This is a guy called malicious, maybe. Okay, modified by anon, whatever. Okay, so everything is also like the commands for each type of attack is also given here. This will not directly help you. It's not a step-by-step guide for solving the examination. Let me be clear on that. It's not a step-by-step guide for solving your examination. This commands will basically help you to perform attacks. Like you yourself have to identify the attack, what commands to execute. This thing is not a step-by-step guide. Okay, so be careful on that and keep a check on that. The only thing that you can use from this is the commands that are used, the way that things were done, the commands that were executed, what the commands were doing. So this is what you need to learn from it, what profile that this guy used, and based on that profile, customizing or building your own one. Customizing it, at least I don't think it's wise to build your own, because I tried to build my own and it was faulty, very faulty. And make sure to test your profile before actually using it in your examination. Okay, like using it in some of your labs, you can do that. Like you can just while you are solving the exams, solving any lab, and suppose you have your own profile set up, to check that it's working properly, like it's there is no error from the profile, you can load that profile into Cobalt Strike before actually before doing the lab. Okay, so you can do that, and I think you should find that on your own, how to configure the steps. Okay, so this is something that I used for the commands, because there are some commands that are very useful here. I'm not going to point out anything, but this will be very useful for you. Another resource is the is the document for Cobalt Strike itself, like that document for this for the tool itself, like understanding the interfaces, like what are the settings available and things like that. It's not useful to download a PDF, but I think it's good enough. On the website you can just search for certain settings or certain settings that you want to know more about, and just search, and it gives you information on that, and explore the blogs on that. So it's very useful when you are learning about the tool itself. Okay, so look into this thing as well. Now, the first thing about app lockers, you will be learning about app locker, and whatever you learn in about app locker in the app locker sections is good enough. Like, it's good for the examination section, but I was researching on my own and found various ways of bypassing app locker. Like, it's not something that I created, it's just something I discovered from another creator. Like, kudos to that creator. Okay, so this is the thing. So I just compiled every resource that I could find on app locker, and it was pretty interesting about how helpful these things can be to bypass app locker. Okay, so this is the actual screenshot from my lab, not the lab from my examination, but a lab that you will do on your lab. Okay, so techniques like ADS, so amazing thing. This is another link that was very helpful. Unlimited app locker list. Everything that you see on the section here, it's just I've downloaded the MD file, downloaded the MD file and imported to Obsidian. Go through this, and there are various techniques that you will find very useful. Okay, so go through this URL as well. And I think there are other pages, and one from Spectre Ops. There's a tool called Seat Belt. This can help you enumerate app locker settings as well. Okay, so you can look into that as well. Okay, using app locker, I used this in my examination, and it gave me information, of course, and it is but still it failed me somewhere. The tool didn't fail me, but my enumeration failed me, because there were some other things that were blocking me, and that actually generated the alert. So look into Seatbelt, maybe that can help you in future somewhere. And there are other tools as well, like SharpVim, Sharp DAPI for dumping Windows credentials and all. Okay, and this another article from juggernets.sec, amazing. Like this one, I think it's a very informative article. It takes you from a very beginner's perspective on how to bypass app locker. Amazing thing, the techniques that he discussed here. And at the end, he also mentioned a reference to the page unlimited app locker bypasses, like this one. So study this one for app locker, because this will give you a better understanding about how to actually bypass app lockers, like what are the various techniques that is used. Okay, some things like that. Okay, now the next thing, which is after dumping those things, pivoting, lateral movement. Okay, stealth. With stealth, I have divided into like defense evasions. For defense evasions, like there is one more tool for defense evasion. It's called MC fail. AMSI fail. It's an amazing tool for disabling MC for the current PowerShell session. You can just execute this or unencoded, but recommended to encode it and then just paste it into a PowerShell session to disable MC for your current session, and then you can execute your any Power View command or any PowerShell script or things like that. Okay, So this is one thing. Now here is my malleable profile. Studying about profile was very important, so you also have to study, and this is the profile that I used for my examination. It worked pretty good, I think. Though process injection didn't work, failed me somewhere. The thing here is now, it was detecting a process called create remote thread. Like, you should not use a create remote thread for injecting in a process. Like, it's a very well known technique. So I had done this net exec things like that, but still it didn't work. So configuring your profile is also very important. I added some latest information, like this is actual Firefox from my Firefox agent. And the payload size, the task size can also be important, because you need to set your payload size. I've set it to around 2 MB, so you can also do it for around 2 MB, because if you do not define this thing, certain tools will not work, because the size limit will be too much for the beacon to carry. One more thing is the pipe name. You need to change the pipe name in your seat in your malleable profile, and also while you create your beacon SMB listener, like, you need to have your own pipe name while you in your malleable profile and in your SMB listener. You cannot go with the default, because that will be detected. Okay, and there are certain strip commands that basically replaces certain strings with certain other strings to avoid evasion, static signatures and all. So you need to learn how to configure your own profile. And some resources that are very helpful were an article from this user Khalid. He explains the profile very, like, very user friendly, like very easily, so you can refer to this one as well. Okay, so this one. And there's another, the documentation from Threat Express about malleable profile options. So go through the options as well, like what are the options that are actually used for. Okay, so this one you also should go through this document. The other one is from Threat Express blog. They also discuss on creating a malleable profile. So how do they do it? They also explain it here. So read through this 3 articles. I think the first 2 will be enough, along with the material that is covered inside the course. This one kind of felt irrelevant, but these 2 felt very useful, and along with the material that's covered in the course itself. Okay, so go through in that. So configuring your profile is very important. Then configuring your resource kit, like what are the various options while compiling your resource kit for, because basically your resource kit will define how your beacon is actually generated or loaded into memory, if I got that right. The lab covers the bypasses, so this is the exact thing that was covered in the lab, so you can use the default. And but make sure to check static signature and MC checks as well. Like, you need to check your MC sections as well. Let me just go back to artifact and see if there is anything that I've added here. Resource kit, I had this on my resource kit, but I don't know, I might have not saved the content before actually shutting down, or maybe I just did an undo before saving it. So you need to configure your artifact kit, your resource kit, and your malleable C2 profile before actually starting the attack. You need to configure your malleable profile first, then load it to your C2 profile, a C2 team server, and then launch the team server, and then configure your artifact kit and the resource kit, and then check the payload generated by these things using thread check. Very useful. Make sure to check for both static and MC checks, because if you just do one check, it might be detected on the other. Okay, so this is the thing. Defense evasion. Let me go back. Maybe I'm just looping in. Stealth, initial access. Okay, now the next thing that you need to do is like privilege escalations, like elevate privilege escalations. There are some techniques discussed, like weak service permissions. You can enumerate those weak vulnerable services on the system or whatever, or you can go with the USA bypasses. Okay, so just check into the material that's given on the course, and I think it will be good enough for you to bypass after getting your initial. And one more thing that I forgot to add about this course is this course is a compromised is based on a compromised machine. Like the environment is already compromised. You already have compromised one machine. It's just that it is from that machine you to move further along the network. And first of all, you need to get a beacon of that initially compromised machine on your team server. So it's an already pre-compromised scenario, thing like that. Okay, so and from that you need to generate a beacon and then execute it, and then from that you need to, from then on you need to elevate your persistence, like from a normal shell to a system shell. This is what is needed. Everything that's covered in the course, I think, is pretty much explains itself, so it's nothing serious. But you explore all the techniques that's discussed and try to practice all the techniques in your labs. Even though the labs are configured for a specific vulnerability, I think the labs are in general the same. Like no lab is different, like it's a single network. Like all the labs are just one machine. Okay, one domain, one machine that needs to be solved. Okay, so every lab is same, I think. Some are different, but most of the labs are share similarities in their configuration, so you can practice some other techniques in some other types of labs. It's, I don't think that's a problem, because I did once, or did I, not sure. Try it on your own. Okay, so privilege escalation. And after privilege escalations, like what are the various user impersonation techniques, like credential access, like what are the various techniques that you can perform, like dumping tickets from the system, dumping credentials from the OS, and things like that. The techniques discussed in the course are pretty good enough. Okay, so cover that thing. Lateral movement. Okay, there are some various techniques. There are some techniques that involves like jumping from one machine to the other. If you have gotten access of that other machine, like how do we jump over that machine? There are some exploits like PSXX, WinRM, but PSXX and WinRM, they are quite aggressive on the network, so they are detected. But there's another but there is another BOF file that's available with Cobalt Strike that's much less stealthier or OPSEC friendly when it comes to jumping off machine. And it's also recommended to change your process before actually jumping to the next machine, like changing your spawning process to something that mimics your listener type. Like if you're having an HTTP listener, then change the spawn process to something that actually deals with HTTP request, like for example a browser. So changing your spawn process is also important when you are trying to blend into the network, blend into the environment. And there are some other commands that are discussed in the module itself. Okay, the various security logon time, because just having a credential doesn't mean that you can access a system. Sometimes you need to have your credentials inside memory for you to access certain processes. So this is what's been discussed here, like various security logon types. This is also what discussed in CRTO. You can check on that. And then discovering like various LDAP queries, like what are the various LDAP queries, these things, the properties of the properties of Active Directory. Okay, looking for some cotton account like group accounts, computers, users, organizational units, and things like that. Checking for curb roastable accounts, like as discussed in my previous video, that you just don't perform curb roasting in the network. You first try to identify an account that is curb roastable. But one more thing that CRTO teaches you is that sometimes those curb roastable accounts are decoy accounts. Unless and until you actually require the account, like enumerate the privilege or enumerate the user that is curb roastable, like what domain access does that user has before actually curb roasting it, dumping the hash and decrypting it. Enumerate the user. First of all, enumerate the curb roastable user. Then don't just go on advanced with curb roasting the user. Identify what are the accesses that this curb roastable user has before actually curb roasting it, because sometimes it's just a decoy account, a honeypot that might get triggered on attacks. So check on that. This is what CRT also teaches. And the various OPSEC methods, like results threshold, like not calling for a lot of attributes at once, not good. Like minimizing or very specifically targeting for attributes in the domain, so that not a lot of request is generated, so that it doesn't trigger the EDRs and the network detection systems. Learning about pivoting like socks proxy and reverse port forward is also important. Like I think it's pretty interesting how they work. I think whatever is covered inside the course is pretty enough, so you can look into the course. Uh, then comes after then come delegations. Like you again, I'm telling you, just study about delegations, what various types of delegations and how do they work, because that is because how do you actually enumerate those, and how do you actually impersonate a user that is allowed to delegate to a certain account, whether it's an unconstrained delegations or constrained delegation or resource based constrained delegations, or even service name substitutions. Like these types of attacks can happen, not guaranteeing or not even giving you any hints. It's just a general thing that will help you in help you overall in your pen testing journey or in your red team operations. Okay, so MS build, credential access, Kerberos deletion, user impersonation. Like there are various techniques like pass the hash tickets, token information, steal token, process injection, and things like that. Process injection. Uh, uh, this is the one that got detected, but I don't remember doing this process injection. But I need to look into it. What actually? Basically, you just inject a beacon inside a process if that process is running on someone else's context. Like every process runs under the security context of the user that launched it. So it's like stealing that context and impersonating that context to access certain shares or certain services, something like that. Okay, so be comfortable with the user impersonations and lateral movement. That will help you a lot. Overall, this is what the course is about. Like everything else is covered inside the course. Covering about app locker bypasses, as I discussed, you can look through the repository that I just mentioned. This unlimited app locker bypass, it's pretty old, but I think it still works in a lot of cases when certain binaries are blocked. Maybe some are not, maybe some are vulnerable now, maybe some were not vulnerable back then, so maybe they can happen. So just explore this thing. It's kind of unrelated to CRTO or the exam's objective, but still it's pretty useful. Like how do you bypass app locker using by ADS, like alternate data stream. It was something interesting that I learned while learning about app locker bypasses from this article. Okay, so this was about the certification itself. Like I hope this helps. I rest and one more thing, everything else required is in this material itself. It's just that you might have overlooked some topics for being unrelated or unimportant. Okay, so look over those things. Okay, like discuss, take everything as seriously or as minutely as possible, because what you ignore now maybe will trouble you in the future. Not really just about CRTO, maybe it can be from any perspective. Okay, so just follow this one maybe. At least this is what I did actually. Like this is the entire thing that I did. Like everything that I did personally, all the resources that I went through along with the course material itself to achieve the badge, the certificate just yesterday. Okay, so this is it. This is my take on CRTO preparation examination review. Uh, I would rate that in a medium scale on the objective, but using the tool is a little complicated at first if you're not familiar with the environment or familiar with the toolkits. That can be a little component, otherwise, it's just fine. And get comfortable with Active Directory. Learn about Active Directory. You can learn it from anywhere. I think a lot of resources available on the internet, but practice more and Again, I would recommend this platform for practicing Active Directory or any other thing. Mainly, I got this platform for Active Directory, and it's pretty interesting, like easy things and everything. Okay, so I actually completed this lab. I don't know why it says shows subscription lapsed. Even this one I've completed the medium labs. And this is the new one that got recently launched. But I was in my last stage, and these were the two labs I were trying to do: Northern Stone and Nova Card, and Northern Bridge. Or maybe I did this one. I'm not sure. This is a new one. So these are the things that were left for me before I canceled my subscription. Okay, so all the best with your CRTO examination. I hope you learned something, or maybe that helped. And if yes, then show your response in terms of likes or comments, and share this with someone who actually is going to, who is actually who is thinking about giving the examination. Maybe this will help them. Otherwise, no worries. This was just my take on CRTO, and this is Rewire. Maybe I will see you with some other tutorials on red teaming.